So welcome everybody. So we are now back at lecture 13. There's a specific question about the pooling step. Okay, so what specifically, so you understand the principle, right? So the stepwise approach essentially of multiple imputation, right? So we have the imputation, we specify models for the relevant one, and we're predicting the missing values using the models we have predicted, we have basically developed, and we're repeating this iteratively to create full, complete data sets. So now in an analytic step, you basically, you perform all your analyses for each data set. And now in the pooling, you combine the estimates to get one common estimate that is basically then based on each individual analyses that you have performed, and each of these individual analytic steps that you have performed. So what specifically would you be interested in?
So in the pooling step, I was trying to understand the variance within and the variance between, what kind of roles they play.
Well, you're correcting it basically for the variance between those estimates. So that is my understanding of it, that you're trying to get like a pooled variance that reflects the variance between all different models. So you have a variance within each model that you have done for each of your iterations. And then you have a variance between each respective estimates. So you have a variance within essentially is here then amalgamated to a variance of that final estimate of your actual estimate that you will be using then in your pooled model. And this is arithmetically derived from the within variance and the variance between the respective estimates. Does that explain it?
Yeah, so the variance within, that's much more clear. The variance between, when exactly does the variance between occur? Is it like after processing every single particular model, data set?
Exactly, because you're looking here at a final variance estimate for the variance of your beta estimate, of your final estimate. So you get a final estimate, and this estimate will also have a variance. And this variance is essentially estimated of the variance between each estimate and the variance within the estimate. It's a bit like think a bit in ANOVA terms, right? So you have different groups, and you have a variance within each group, and you have a variance between the groups, between the mean of each group. And this is basically amalgamated for and with a correction factor then to essentially gets you to a final estimate of the variance for your final beta, for your final estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely clear.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but thankfully the statistical softwares do the work for us, right? So we are actually blessed. Imagine that 30 years ago, when no, probably not. So all these models, essentially, all these multiple imputations have had essentially a development with the uprising of statistical softwares. And now these are things that would be virtually impossible to calculate by hand. Right?
I see.
So, yeah.
And also for slide 26, I was wondering what's meant by sensitivity analysis.
Yeah, so sensitivity analysis is basically an alternate way. So you have, for sensitivity analysis, you have those sensitivity analysis where you test whether actually your subset analysis and your subsets do differ. And then you have a second form of sensitivity analysis where you basically test the models that you have used or the analytic approaches that you have used. And so you can hear what is meant here, that you use different approaches to deal with the missing data. And I think I briefly mentioned it was inverse probability weighting. Basically, you put weight on those subpopulations where you may have more likely missing data. So you kind of you deal with the missing data in a different fashion. So that's what's meant with sensitivity analysis.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
I'll let other students ask questions.
Yeah, Tracy, Ola, do you have any questions?
I think my question is related to research note 2, so I can hold off if other people have other questions.
Yes, would be great. What questions do you have with research note 2? Well, let's pull up the instructions. We can directly review the respective question. What is your question, Tracy?
So I understand there are different approaches that we can choose from. And so I'm kind of deciding between two of them. If I decide to do the mediation analysis, do I do similar steps in the research note 1, like where you want us to kind of explain the data, you know, I guess that's kind of my question, is like how much information for the mediation analysis compared to like if I was just doing one for the confounding?
Yes, so I would definitely always kind of suggest that you would do some form of exploratory analysis and descriptive analysis. So that doesn't have to be much, but it's just, I think it's just a proper scientific approach to kind of have some characterization in there. And we talked the last time about Stargazer, for example, you remember? So if you do, for example, just a simple Stargazer analysis of any model, let's see whether we have any data set quickly accessible. I think this could work. Oh yeah, let's do this. There's not in one data set. So if you have just any kind of analysis, you can also, with the Stargazer package, you can quickly compute just the table 1. And this is not meant to create much work. It's just, it is an integral part of every analysis. And that's why I didn't take points. If there was no table 1, I did not take points. But I think it makes sense that there is just a consciousness that there are some descriptive statistics in your analyses. So let's do. Yeah. Just quickly. Yeah. Okay. Before I jump around too much, just want to quickly. Yeah, this is a good one. Okay. So you can just with the Stargazer package, you can very quickly create table 1. So if you do with the Stargazer, so the Stargazer, you can essentially you just take the data set that you're working with. You specify that you want type equals text, and you basically get out of doesn't like my file, huh? Oh, it's because it's Tibber. Okay, so since okay. Yeah, so let's not get too deep into that. But let's say you have a data frame that is data frame, and you have age 1 to 100, and you have another one. Let's say BMI from 25 to 30. Right. Times. Yep. 26, 1 to 100, 125, 26, that should work. Okay, good. If we do now Stargaze of TF, so this the demonstration text, 5 equals text, gives you now just a very quick descriptive statistic, and I think this is good enough. Where you basically would just categorize and kind of characterize your variables. So I think this is all that's really needed for this analysis. So, and if you have a factor, you basically just address it in the same way. So you do like a table and a proportion table. You basically just indicate the counts for each respective group. It's just a nice way to kind of characterize your data and kind of show that you have investigated the data. Does this answer your question? Or?
Yes, yeah, it definitely answers, and it's actually a very helpful tip. So thank you. I had a follow-up though. So if I chose to do the mediation model, I noticed the function mediate doesn't work well with categorical variables if the mediator is a categorical variable. I wasn't sure if you had any suggestions around that, or I could just choose a continuous variable to make it easier.
Well, you can a continuous variable as a predictor as an independent variable, or as a.
I just noticed that when I use a variable that's categorical for the mediator, the function for mediate doesn't work. There's like an error for some reason, and I like looked into it, and it apparently it doesn't work well for categorical variables for the mediator. I'm not really sure how to go around it, but it's okay. I can always choose a different variable. I was just curious if you ever had to.
Well, you could. So, if you do a continuous variable, so the mediation package in R, logistic regression should essentially allow for you to do this without any problem. So I don't think that there's much concern. So you should, I'm surprised that you would have issues with that. So what problem did you run into specifically?
The error I usually get is signifying that the mediate variable and the outcome variable don't match in observation.
So, but that's a different problem. That is a missing data problem. That is a problem of a different kind. So I would then, okay, so Claire, we're digging deep into this. So you would need to then choose only complete cases, and you would need to subset your model on. So first of all, kudos that you take a mediation approach, which is kind of definitely more challenging. But essentially, you should be able to do that by just, you know how we discussed the analyses of so enhance So we chose, so you did, the script. So if we're running down here this enhance data. Okay, so now it goes back to that. Okay. Test 4, lab, taking this. So let's assume you have here, if you do a summary on the entire enhance file, you have here NAs. So if you have any form of NA, you know how to restrict and subset. Can you remember the code that we had for the subsetting? So you would essentially, and I always do this in that fashion. So whenever I load a data file, I basically call it a source file. So this is my source file. And so now here I have characterized the source file. So now I would, in the next step, it would only then create the actual final enhance file by saying enhance source. Enhance source bracket is enhance. What enhance at here specifies. So here serum glucose does have missing value. So now if you look now in enhance source, we have 4,809 individuals. So if we're breaking this down now to those which are, and this is what the exclamation mark indicates, which are not NA, followed by a comma. So you remember this formula? We did do that for some of our analysis. So if you subset your main source file, so if you're subsetting this now, you get, so now you have removed from your enhanced subset all the missing NAs from serum glucose. So you basically remove those 479 entries. And if you look now at summary, enhanced, these are done. So this is a complete case approach. So going back to, we're assuming that they're missing at random, which may not be true, but this is one of those approaches where basically we're saying, okay, so this is how we're dealing with this. What was it? Data pattern. So we would use a complete case approach, complete case analysis. So we're removing all NAs, and this is likely what will your mediation work. At least I hope it will. If not, we can revisit it on a one-on-one if you want.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'll try it out again. Yeah.
Do you think that may solve your problem? But I don't see why a logistic regression should not be possible in the mediation analysis. I think that should be possible without any problem.
It's not that it's impossible. I think there was just something extra steps I had to do with categorical variables for the mediator. So I'll play around with it more. I mean, worst comes to worst, I'll just use the other model, which might be.
It's like kudos that you take the more difficult approach. So please, absolutely, whatever I can do to help you to make this happen, let's definitely do that. We can always correspond via email or discussion board, preferably discussion board, or hop on a one-on-one if you have really problems finalizing.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Any other questions? Darren, how are you? Can you hear me there?
Yes, Professor, I can hear you now.
Great, great.
Sorry, I'm late.
Not a problem, not a problem. Do you have any questions concerning anything? So we are currently, we've done some discussion on multiple imputation. We have had some conversations about mediation analysis and research note 2. Do you have any questions on any of these topics?
Oh, well, I got a few, not specific. I've been still a little confused about mediation. Mm-hmm. And I know that it's something that has to be looked at in the research note number 2. So I'm still trying to figure it out though.
Okay, so but you have a topic for research note 2?
No, I haven't even. So I'm gonna start looking at it tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So maybe on Wednesday, do you have some questions?
Oh yes, on Wednesday I definitely will have questions.
Okay, sounds good. Well, if no questions, then hypothetically we could conclude for tonight. If anybody wants to have some other conversations, can stay on, but I will stop the recording then for now. Were the